there folks, welcome back to Rule of Thumb. Today I thought I would bring you along. I'm actually canning potato wedges, which I have done a video on before. However, I'm going to use the Harvest Guard Reusable Lids. I've had a lot of comments from you guys and messages about people wanting to see using the Harvest Guard lids. So I thought, since I'm going to be using them, I'd bring you along, even though you've already seen the content of the video. Sometimes it's just nice to watch it again, and we're going to be using the reusable lids. So I'm going to turn you around, show you what I'm doing. We'll get started and go from there. Okay folks, we're back. So I have here my potatoes cut up into wedges. They are in some water with some lemon juice to keep them from browning. Back here, you can't really see it, but this is my Harvest Guard lids. I've got them simmering away. I've got my canner here. Because I'm using cold product, room temperature water, I just have my canner filled with room temperature water as well. You want temperature even all the way across. You know, normally I use a funnel, but with potato wedges it's very difficult, so I'm just going to use my hands, get them in the jars, and I'll clean up the jars before we put the lids on. My hands are washed and very clean. It's for my family, so it's what I'm going to do. So I'm simply going to reach in here and start layering in the potato wedges. If you notice, which I'm sure some people will, some of these jars look a little cloudy, and that's because they are old. Some of these jars are almost 100 years old. I just recently made a large purchase of jars off of Facebook Marketplace, and they were a barn find. So I just take the jars and shake them like this to try and get the potatoes to settle down to the bottom as much as possible. You're never going to get every nook and cranny filled with potatoes. It's just not going to happen. So you just have to work with what you can to the best of your ability. Try and find the right size potatoes for the right space when you get to the top. But yeah, I managed to score a great deal on jars. I was very fortunate. I contacted a gentleman that had a post up for a couple weeks, and they were still available. And so he had a lot of jars. I picked them all up. I shared them with a friend. And so that's why some of these, you'll see there's a lot of different jars here. Like this is an Atlas jar. This is a Metro Easy Pack Mason. I've got an Atlas Strong Shoulder. I've got a Mom's Mason jar. I've got a Kerr Self-Sealing. And I've got another Atlas Strong Shoulder. And then a Ball Mason jar. So, lots to choose from. So I fill my jar with potatoes. I use a nice heaping teaspoon of onion soup mix. And then I'm going to use my tea kettle. But it's not hot, so I'm just using room temperature water. And fill my jar up to 1-inch headspace. And grab my debubbler. And this is also where it gets tricky with potatoes, because it's very hard to slide the debubbler down in there if you got your potatoes packed in super tight. But you still want to do your best to try and debubble. It's a delicate balance with potatoes. Now, I will say the USDA instructions call for you to cook your potatoes for 2 minutes prior to canning them. I do not do that. You've also noticed I do not peel my potatoes, because these are thin-skinned, these are Yukon Gold potatoes. I don't feel it necessary. I just scrub my potatoes really well, cut off any bad spots. I wedge them up. I put them in there whole, or, in there raw. And that's how I choose to can mine. Again, do your research. I always tell you guys this. Do your research. Do what you feel is best for you. And, make smart choices. So, now I've got that jar full. I've got my dish of vinegar over here. Give this a good cleaning. And I'll grab a ring, which, of course, I did not get out ahead of time because it's one of those days today. So, grab one from my rings here. Alright. And then we'll get my lid lifter. We're gonna, I forgot what lids I was using. So I'm going to grab my tongs and I am going to grab a lid, which sometimes is easier said than done, especially when you're over the top of another pot. Okay, and then we're going to get that on here. Now, I had lots of questions in my last video about this part. Okay, the Harvest Guard instructions say to put your finger on the lid, put your ring on, and spin it until there's resistance. Okay? Works perfectly well, right? The other method, which I showed the last time, is you can do fingertip tight like you would normally, and then back it off 1/4 of an inch. You're getting to the same point either way. So whichever method, put your finger on, spin it till you get resistance, or do fingertip tight and back off 1/4 of an inch. Either way, you're getting your ring to the same exact spot. So, if there's any question about that, that's why it is what it is. So, I'll do one more here with you guys. It is difficult with wedges sometimes, getting them to cooperate with you. So you just gotta play around with them a little, do a little dance. Sometimes it's easier if you lay them down, sometimes it's easier if you stand them up. Just depends on the potato, depends on the size. You could certainly cube these up if you prefer to have them cubed. I have just found the wedges work best for me because sometimes I like to roast them in the oven, sometimes I like to pan fry them. Sometimes I'll cut them up smaller if the dish that I'm making requires that. Sometimes, you can mash these. You can use them in potato salad. There's just tons of different ways to use these. But also, that's why I do it in quarts, because you don't get the whole space. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing is not filled with potatoes. So I'm getting less potato in the jar, but it's, you're getting as much as you can in there. Okay, I'll have to fill this back up. And that's why I use quarts, because by the time I get them done and, take the liquid out when I go to use them, it's usually the right amount of potatoes at that point. So that's why I choose to do quarts. Put this up to the 1 inch mark and get our debubbler. I don't know how much debubbling does at this point because they're packed so tight in there, but we do our best. Do the best to comply. And then if you need to, you can shift them around a little bit once they're in there. Grab my vinegar, give this a good wipe. Make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. Make sure this is very clean. And we're going to go ahead and grab another ring. My ring string. And we'll grab another lid out of here. Now, I have so far used 28 of these lids on 2 different projects, and I have yet to have a failure. So far I'm 100%. Keeping my fingers crossed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish getting the rest of these jars filled up and in the canner, and I will bring you folks back when we are at that point. Okay folks, so we got all 7 jars in the canner. I am going to get my lid on my canner and bring it up so it vents a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes. Then I will put my weight on. It's 10 pound weight for my canner and my area. So I'm going to put my weight on. I will bring it up to 10 pounds, 10 to 11 pounds of pressure is where it usually sits. And I'm going to process these for 40 minutes for quarts. And then I will bring you folks back when they're all done so you can see the finished result. I do have some more potatoes left, and I have some more that I can cut up, so I might actually do a second canner load as long as I'm here and canning. Okay folks, welcome back. So my canner came down off of pressure. I cracked the lid. I've let these sit for about 10 minutes. So now we're going to get these out of the canner. Look at that. I mean, it's a beautiful sight. And then, like I showed you the last time, I'm going to grab a towel here. And you guys can't see this, so I'm going to bring you down here. Okay. So then I'm going to take my hot pad. I've got a towel here, and I'm just going to give this a quick crank. Just, you know, you don't have to go crazy. You just want it to be tight. And then you're going to set that aside and let it do its thing. So, I'm going to get the rest of these out of the canner. Here, I'll show you one more, just so everybody can see it. Just put that down here. Got my towel. Just give it a good hand tighten. Set it aside. So you can see in the background I did get a second canner load. So I'm going to end up with 14 quarts of potato wedges, and these are going to be delicious and easy to use for dinners going forward. Hopefully we're going to have another 100% seal rate. I did use 7 regular mouth and 7 wide mouth, so we are going to get to see a little bit of both, and yeah, I'm going to continue to use these in videos going forward so you guys have as much exposure to them as possible, and also bring you some new and interesting things to can. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, come back and see me soon, and as always, I hope you had a great day.